Okay, Thursday, just to get records straight, we were missing last week, missing in action.
Yeah.
Mark was running up and down the hills in Olinda in the carnival, and I was out of the country on a business
Yeah.
meeting
Yeah.
convention I had to go to. Right, so here we go then. No matter how much they mouth off to try and bolster their image, there is always someone on the outside looking in.
Mm.
This phrase normally reserved for you and I, Mark.
Yeah.
He's always on the outside looking in.
Mm.
And we look at the to-ins and fro-ins in the UK from a distance, being able to look at things using a wider lens, so to speak.
Mm.
But then, hey, who are we?
Yeah.
Two older chaps sharing ideas of what we think about a situation we see from afar. But when the people on the outside who are looking in are a bit close to home and opine from an official position, surely that would make people prick their ears up and pay a little bit more attention. Recently, Boris Johnson tried to make himself relevant again in British politics by stating his opinion in a recent interview that Britain should send troops to Ukraine sooner rather than later, believing that it would make Putin stop Russians' part in the conflict, as if it was a deer caught in the headlights.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
You'd stop, be shocked. Really? On what basis was this opinion formed? The same one where he went to visit Zelensky and tell him not to sign a peace deal?
Mm.
One of the red lines of the current peace negotiations is that there will be no NATO troops to be deployed in Ukraine. It looks like Johnson is wanting a never-ending war, if you ask
Mm.
me. I wonder what his
Well.
stock portfolio looks like.
Mm.
Where's his stocks?
Yes. Well. Okay.
After this, NATO chiefs warned Starmer that as it stands, unless the UK doesn't radically pump investment into the British Armed Forces, Britain will be a second-rate military power.
Mm.
This is NATO saying this, not me.
Yeah. Okay.
The top echelons of NATO, Starmer was told that Britain is falling to one of the weakest members of the alliance. At the same time, British Defence Secretary John Healey discarded Boris Johnson's chest beating, but did say that he envisions that British troops would be sent to Kiev once a peace deal had been made. Fast forward a couple of days, and the rhetoric is now that Britain will send troops to Ukraine if Vladimir Putin allows them. Now, to
Yeah.
be fair with
Yeah.
Mr. Healey, he has to work with the tools he's got.
Yeah.
And it does look like he's got a lot of tools around him. But I digress about that. But although he's making Britain look like a rich tea biscuit that has just been dipped into an afternoon cuppa, his diplomatic skills are better realizing that there will be an end to the conflict,
Yeah.
and who gets the final say will not be Zelensky.
Mm.
So he's using the softly approach with Putin. Now, Starmer knows the situation of the British military and has admitted that the government is slow to react to the needs of the armed forces. He said that the UK must go faster on defence spending amid the Russian threat and political pressure from the US President Donald Trump. He said that spending will rise from 2.4% of GDP to 2.5% by 2027, hoping to reach 3% in the 2030s, a far cry from the 5% that Trump and NATO were demanding.
Yeah.
But fall short of explaining the pathway to reach such goals. He didn't mention that.
No.
What does he have to do so we can accomplish this? So we all know what that means, of course. It doesn't say how he's going to do it. It
Yeah.
just words, just
Yeah. I know.
signs leaving the front of his face.
Mm.
In the meantime, the likes of Boris from time to time spring up to try and boost their stock purchases.
Mm.
Sorry, to boost the image of what is looking to be the initial stages of a military in the 2nd Division.
Okay. Yeah, my mind is. I wouldn't say
Basically, this is that NATO has said
yeah.
that the UK has got a shit military.
Well, okay. I'm going to speak from the heart here over it all. Maybe I'm not. Don't have the full facts. I mean, in my opinion, if we're talking about Europe's contribution to NATO, there's only two notable military, probably three military forces there that are worth anything. And it's not to decry other countries, but it is. Britain, France, and Poland are probably the three best military countries. I know you do that. This is my opinion and what I read.
Yeah, of course, yeah,
skeptical,
yeah. Go.
And to say Britain is falling, but it's already been said. And it was said when Europe was trying to form, the EU was trying to form its own military. What use is a EU army without the British involvement for a lot of different reasons? I mean, we're not just talking people marching up and down on a battlefield, potentially on a battlefield. Yeah, there's lots of other facets that the British can bring to a military operation.
Do you mean like the US?
I don't think the US would actually necessarily back the UK if they went on what would be considered a wild venture.
Not at the moment.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm only going on what I see currently as a snapshot.
Yeah, okay.
Wherever my snapshot begins and ends is here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
What's happened in the past has happened. What will happen in the future? Who can predict in 3 years' time what will happen in the US? So in the here and now, I think there's only certainly Western Europe. I'm still going to lump Poland into Eastern Europe. There are only two viable countries that could probably snap your fingers and put together a credible force, is what I'm saying. Whatever credible means. I know this is not caveats here. That will be France and the UK. Germany does seem to struggle with what it wants for its military. Scandinavia, yeah, I mean they're good soldiers. Whether or not, I think they'd be just more suited to fighting up in their own territory. If I'm being honest, they're probably more Arctic trained and everything else. The British military would go anywhere. The French military will go anywhere quite happily. Yeah. I'm not going to get crucified because, yeah, the other forces have been operating in other theatres like Afghanistan and Iraq and other places. Yeah. But I'm not decrying from the the troopers on the ground, as it were, because they're brave people. Anyone that goes into that situation, yeah, is a braver man than I am. And I had the opportunity once and I declined it. But it is okay, at the moment, everyone's playing. They're literally playing a big game of Risk, but they're not even gotten the ball yet. They're playing a geopolitical game of Risk. Yeah, they're all pretending things, saber rattling. Are the Western leaders scared of Putin? I think yes, they are. But not that they all know that Putin probably isn't a risk to individual countries outside the Eastern European sector. Yeah. He probably still in his mind still sees the Iron Curtain as Russian territory. Yeah, he's old school. It did weaken. I mean, you got to remember the Ukrainians were fierce soldiers for the Russians. Yeah. And they were patriotic as well to the Russian Federation. And then suddenly the wall comes down and yeah, everyone sees a different world. Yeah, rights and wrongs of all that. But when you look in Eastern, I'm going to shift the thing here. When you actually look what's happened in Eastern Europe itself, Hungary is pulling more and more away from the Western influence, the Western European influence. I won't say moving closer to Russian, but possibly seeing a stronger ally with the
Yeah, I
Russians.
mean, this is all well good and said, but
Yeah,
the subject here is the English
yeah,
military,
yeah. I
British
mean,
military,
yeah. I mean, I'm.
which in terms of arguing against your, that the English military is British
Well, yeah.
military is
Okay.
brilliant. The numbers are down to
Mm,
since Napoleonic times.
yeah,
That less soldiers. The paratroopers aren't going to be allowed with the parachutes anymore. There
yeah,
are, and you can argue why.
yeah.
You can argue why.
Mm.
You can't even get training airplanes for the Red Arrows to do their, which, I mean, all of this we've covered on previous
Yeah,
podcasts.
yes, yeah.
The ships are always in dock. There's not one nuclear British submarine in active service at the moment.
I thought there always had to be
They're
one or
all
two, but yeah, there
no,
might be.
they're all in dock. They're all in dock. And the secret base in Scotland is leaking nuclear waste everywhere.
Mm.
They still haven't solved that one out. And I mean, if that is a brilliant military, and I don't think the French are much better if they didn't have the Foreign Legion.
Well, as I said, the foreign legion's made up of quite a few foreign foreign bodies anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, but
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
same time,
yeah, but they are, as I said, relatively speaking, yeah, the French funny enough, actually do ops together and do them quite well. Probably a little bit out of competitiveness sometimes for all I know, but yeah, all I'm saying is it's relatively. I mean, okay, we're pointing at individual things, and yeah, the school report could be better, could be better, could be better, could be better. I mean, um, military strategies are going through a major change at the moment. The Ukraine war and other theatres have proved that maybe what we consider conventional way of fighting wars is a little bit behind where tech is now. I mean, I've
but
seen,
As Keir Starmer himself said, the British military is not getting the funding it needs.
well,
He's admitted that the British military is getting 2.4 at this moment in time.
mm,
It's getting 2.4% of GDP.
mm,
Even 8 years ago, when Trump said that it needs to be 3% of GDP,
yeah,
that time when he told everybody that they're delinquent, and now
yeah,
he's saying it's 5%. And even in 2030,
yeah.
Starmer's not anywhere near of giving, and he's saying that he wants to put it up to 2.5%, but isn't saying how he's going to do it.
Well, he hasn't got any money. There's no money in the
Well,
bank.
there you are, and that's what NATO's on about.
Yeah,
NATO's saying if you don't inject money into your military, it's a second-rate military.
but
It's
what other
falling apart.
what other European country has injected the money as well? Why should it all fall on the British?
Poland has.
Well,
Poland
yeah.
has.
I mean, Poland's actually got a relatively
Italy,
booming economy, but yeah.
Italy is getting there.
Mhm.
France isn't. Germany isn't.
No, well, they don't have any money. They're in a recession.
Well, once again, their
Yeah.
militaries, and it might be the reason why the leaders in Europe are getting worried about Putin, because they know what they do not have.
Well, yeah. Um,
Not that
okay.
I don't think that Putin is going to invade Europe. There's
It's
absolutely
not.
no evidence that he will.
It's not. It's even nonsensical. We're not even talking ideological spread communism to the world days. Um, we are talking a more pragmatic approach in Russia. Okay, we're talking about field of influence. Yeah, I mean, it could be the best trading partners for a lot of Eastern Europeans have always been Russia, really, as opposed to the EU. And I'm talking, big like this. Um, there's also, yeah, you're quite right. I don't see. I mean, they're having to talk up the threat of Putin, or okay, we'll call it Russia, but yeah, we all know it's Putin. But yeah, Putin, as I keep trying to explain to people, okay, you can have a view on Putin. He's the ultimate cold warrior. He sits there in meetings. He's got that cold stare. He will have a joke with people. It's quite funny, but he's got a cold. He does play to his gallery. He's a cold, tough Russian alpha male, yeah, and he probably is. Um, he could snap his fingers and just have somebody removed from a situation and not think any more of it. Yes, he's cold.
Well,
Um,
most b- between parentheses dictators have to
yeah,
be.
yeah,
Saddam Hussein used to be
yeah. Okay, yeah,
before he was dragged out of office and killed.
yeah.
So was the guy from Libya, Gaddafi.
Gaddafi. Yeah,
He had the same stare,
yeah,
you know.
and that's
And
it.
any Kim Jong Un, he's got this same look about. They have to be heavy fisted to
But
control the population, domestic populations
yeah,
that they have.
I mean, sometimes what we consider, yeah, I mean, okay, different countries have a different way of going on. Yes, okay, we can say that maybe to a point Russia is still operating in a very medieval manner, but it's a big country to hold together with certain things. And the yeah,
On the ground in Russia, on the ground in Russia, it's quite liberal.
well,
If you look at the ordinary person in the street, it's
mm,
quite liberal. It's just that if somebody does something naughty,
well,
then the state comes down on them pretty hard.
well, I mean, Russian um, structure is you can be up there as an oligarch if Putin agrees that you can stay there as an oligarch, like you say. If you step outside the rules, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Yeah, don't stand but close to any high windows anywhere. Um, but he is, yeah. But I mean, okay, he's only doing what. Yeah, he's a czarist more than he's a. From that point of view, he's probably more of a czarist than he is what we could consider a dictatorship. I mean, he could still be voted out of office next time. I don't know if he's going to run again or not. Yeah.
Of course, he can.
I thought they had a rule that he had to step back and he couldn't be um, the leader. He could step back and be the prime minister or something. They've got a different system. Yeah. I mean, just the job type. The name plaque on the desk changes. Yeah, not the actual job itself. But yeah. Okay. Just getting back to it. Yeah, there is this big push by Western leaders. Bogeyman, Putin bad there. Oh, we want to spend more. We want to put more money into our military. We're going to see if we could do some adjustment. The reality is they can say they can want to put so much money in at all. The reality is there isn't the spare change floating around Europe in the coffers. They know they're getting the European leaders. Hopefully, do realize that they're getting very, very close to taxing the general population, not just in the UK, across Europe, to a point where they're going to hit breaking point,
Yeah.
where they're not going to get voted in again, um, where there's going to have to be certain cuts in lots of different sectors. And maybe a lot of vanity projects will be disappearing quite
Of course.
rapidly, which they should be. If they want to put money into the military, that's what would have to happen anyway. No point having wonderful roads if you've got no way of defending them. Yeah. And I do think defence is a very high priority. Not to go to work, the emphasis being on defence. If you want to keep peace, prepare for war. I'm not saying the threat actually comes from Russia. I don't believe it does. I believe there's other threats from other places. Yeah.
The other day, the Russian tankers were in the English Channel again.
Well,
The Russian oil tankers fully laden, going up and down.
well,
Yeah,
if it,
all the Navy did was just,
escort them
doing
through.
what they do best. Watch.
Well, to a point, that should be the remit. I mean, they're not going to blow them out the water or do anything else. If they've applied for the routes, I mean, they still have to say what they're doing and the routes and everything.
Yeah, of
They'll be
course.
tracked all the way. Either with a British submarine, if we've got them available, or a Russian submarine
That
was probably
that's
afterwards
that's
as
it.
well. Yeah,
That is if the military ships, sir.
yeah.
That not commercial ships, military ships.
They still get tracked.
Commercial commercial ships will say that they're going through the English Channel. Of course they will.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's not. They don't have to state why they're
yeah.
there.
They'll probably still be tracked. by someone or something. Yeah. Um, yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
why the newspapers found out that
Yeah.
the Russian tankers are running up and down the
Well,
English Channel.
it's probably not a secret,
Well, of
um
course it is.
and okay, it's good. It isn't. Um, do I really care too much about them? They're good ships. Okay, they know what's on them. They know what they are. If it is oil in them, I mean, there have been cases where they found where they sometimes stop these commercial ships and find that it's not fluid in them, but a haul of weapons or something. Yeah.
Well,
Um,
that depends on the plinsoll line on the outside of the ship, sir.
yeah. Well, whatever. It is. I mean, well, I mean, if you want to look genuine, you don't put oil in there. In your remaining containers, you just put water down. That will pull it down as well. But
Well,
it's
one way to destroy it.
yeah. I mean, okay, we're not maritime. I'm not a maritime engineer. I've spoken to them. But yeah, certainly an interesting thing. But yeah, I don't think there is the money across Eastern Europe to com to comply with NATO's wish list. I always get a bit annoyed about these international bodies that say Britain is not doing this and Britain is not doing that. There are other countries available as well. Um, and I do think there's a little,
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not saying that NATO didn't say it about the other countries. I'm
yeah,
saying,
yeah,
as we are looking on the outside looking in the
yeah.
UK,
Um,
then it's to do with the UK.
and I still see a lot of Britain bashing going on
I
in
mean,
the world.
we all know that the Belgian army is third division. Or
Well, well,
because it's such a small army, it's not going to be very useful.
I mean, historically, they've been brave troops, the Belgians.
Yes, of course they have, but they've been very
Yeah,
limited in numbers. That's what I'm
yeah.
trying to
I
get
mean, I
to.
mean, yeah. I mean, I read the history of WW2, and it's like, yeah, the Belgians, poor Belgians, they were stitched up by the French just about it. Well, not stitched up, but yeah, the no, they were promised things and it didn't necessarily materialize. Um, Partly because there wasn't the resources available from the other allies to actually
Right. Well,
support them.